Welcome. It's your man, God of Dots. Back. Hope everybody's had a great weekend. We back talking about that NFL last week. If you missed out on the show, we broke down each of the NFC South teams. And as we're going to continue starting this week, AFC South. Next week will be NFC East. Up in the air for that. We're going to get every team all the way up until season kickoff. And also on Friday, what we do like the weekly wrap up. It is some news that kind of came out over the weekend, but I'm going to try to save that to Friday so I can get more details on that before I get in front of you and report it. How you doing, Miss Murphy? Yeah, I'm working today. I'm working today. Whew, Jesus. Those that don't know. Yeah, I'm juggling so many hats, but we back, like I said, NFL, AFC South this week. We're going to start out the week with the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I'm not sure what order, but we're going to make sure we get through everybody in the AFC South. This is a division that I think, if I had to, really kind of put a pin into what this division really is. And then, like, we'll do a team by team breakdowns. We'll start with Jacksonville today and keep it rolling from there. But if you really look at these teams, with the exception of the Tennessee Titans as they are constructed now, these teams are set up pretty nicely for the future, and the future may be sooner than we thought. And as we're talking about the future, as you see up on the screen, we got quarterback Trevor Lawrence, Jacksonville Jaguars, winners of the division last year. We'll talk about that. Is Jacksonville ready to take over the AFC South for the better part of a decade? Either the Indianapolis Colts, but primarily the Tennessee Titans have ruled this division with an iron grip. We're in position last year, down to the last week of the season, to continue that stranglehold they had on the division. Came up short. Jacksonville was able to get into the playoffs, and Jacksonville, by all accounts, had a very nice showing in the playoffs, winning their first round game against the Chargers, and not looking that bad against Cincinnati Bengals, which leads us into this year. Does Jacksonville take the leap forward and firmly establish themselves as the number one team in the division? I'm kind of on the fence. About that. And this is several concerns. One of the concerns I do not have in regards to the Jacksonville Jaguars is who they have at quarterback. I like what I saw last year from Trevor Lawrence. He has his warts. He was very up and down. The team invested into a lot of talent in the skill positions last year. They even doubled down on that this past offseason with some of the draft moves. We have Calvin Ridley coming back from basically a 2-year hiatus from gambling. And we'll talk about it more on Friday. A couple more players have been suspended due to gambling. I don't know how many times we got to talk about it, but we'll break it down when we do our Friday wrap up on all things NFL. But like I said, the quarterback position, when you look at the quarterback position, the most important position on the football field, or whether you like it or not, the decision maker, the person that has the balls in the hands, the person that needs to be able to diagnose plays more than any other player on the field, has to know where everybody's supposed to be, what everybody's assignments are, and be able to adjust. Trevor Lawrence, is he ready? And this is a question we have, former number one pick. Is he ready to really step into that upper echelon of quarterbacks? He has the talent, but the play has been so inconsistent. Since he's been in the league. A lot of that has to do with the talent around him. And like I said, Jacksonville has invested the past 2 off seasons in getting him skill position players, guys that can help him become better in his production. I think we're going to see. I'm not going to put Trevor Lawrence into the top 5 of quarterbacks, but I think this season in particular, how it kind of is setting up with rookie quarterbacks possibly starting in Houston, rookie quarterback possibly starting in Indianapolis. Tennessee already on a decline, but Jacksonville is set up best to win this division. I'm not really going to go out on a limb and say this. Even though I think Tennessee made some improvements, and we'll talk about them later on this week when we break down the Tennessee Titans. I think Jacksonville is on an upward trajectory when we're talking about the young talent that they've drafted and stockpiled over the years finally coming together. I think the playoff, what you saw in the playoffs, gives you a lot of hope for the upcoming season, because in those situations, young quarterback, pretty much a young team, no real veteran presence on the team, to be able to not only come back from the bad first half that he had against the Chargers, but to make it fairly competitive against the Cincinnati Bengals shows that, hey, we're not afraid of the moment. We're ready to step up. And I'm not going to put Trevor Lawrence in the category of a Joe Burrow as far as his intangibles, but I think Trevor Lawrence is set up very nicely to lead this team not only to the playoffs, depending on how things kind of break as far as those contenders. They can make a similar run to they had last year, and it's all about progression. When you look at the Jacksonville Jaguars, they're young, but they have young players in key positions, and they're stockpiling talent. You understand what I'm saying? They're stockpiling talent. They didn't lose a lot as far as the free agency market is concerned. Probably the biggest free agent that they lost was right tackle Jawan Taylor. I mean, he was okay last year, former first round pick, but this is okay. But when you look at the guys that they drafted in, they had a lot of draft picks. They addressed his position by drafting Anton Harrison, an offensive tackle. They got a lot of guys at skill position. They got a lot of depth, and a lot of these guys. If you didn't watch college football very closely, you wouldn't know a lot of these guys. But they used the draft picks that they did have. Like I said, didn't get any splash players, didn't get any big name players, guys that you heard about in a lot of the mock drafts and pre-drafts. But a lot of these guys that I've seen on film, very good rotational type players. And some, in the NFL, you like to have your superstars, you like to have stars, but you win in the NFL by making sure you have depth, because injuries are bound to happen. Guys get hurt, guys get nicked. You want guys to be able to come in and not be but we're not asking a guy to come in to be play as a starter. We need him to be something similar to that, where the production doesn't drop off too much. And I like the draft class. Like I said, the Jacksonville had this past off season, and I like how the lineup is kind of set up. When you look at the lineup for especially on the offensive side of the ball for the Jacksonville Jaguars, of course, it begins and ends with Trevor Lawrence. But I do like the running back core that it had. You still have Travis Etienne, who's still kind of coming into his own. They drafted a nice, more of a power back in Tank Bigsby, brought in Dearness Johnson, who, if you are a Cleveland Browns fan, have seen him on film. I think the wide receiving core, though not super awesome when you compare it to the other wide receiving cores, particularly in the AFC, a lineup of Calvin Ridley, Christian Kirk, Zay Jones. That is a pretty good starting three on the outside. That's a pretty good starting three. Like I said, Calvin Ridley, if he's coming back off of his suspension, what is he going to look like? I think it's very important for him, this training camp in particular, to not only get the reps with Trevor Lawrence, build that rapport. Possibly, if we're talking about talent wise, he's going to start out as the number 2 receiver, just for the simple fact they got Christian Kirk, who's already kind of built a rapport. But we're talking about talent wise, I think Calvin really is the best of the bunch. Could possibly move into a number 1 position. I think, in my opinion, Christian Kirk is best suited in offense where he is the number 2. He's not a true number 1, but I like the wide receiving core. I like the additions that they have along the offensive line as far as some of the guys that they drafted. I do think Anton Harrison is going to be getting some playing time at left tackle. Cam Robinson is possibly going to be getting suspended due to some off-field issues. Throw a rookie in there, but it's a good line. It's a pretty good line. Trevor Lawrence didn't get beat up that much last year. Now we look at the other side of the ball. We know offense wins game, defense wins championships. Like I said, they have a lot of young talent. Have a lot of young talent on the defensive side of the ball. This is this is where the concern comes in when we're talking about the Jacksonville Jaguars. Can this young talent, and as talented as they are, they have talent at all three levels of this defense. They have athletes, they have stars at all three levels of this defense. Can they put it together? And really, when you look at them on paper and you look at the talent at some of the positions that they have, I like Fadakazi at defensive tackle. I like Devon Hamilton alongside him. I think Adam Gotsis, who they brought in, provides depth. The edge rushers, you have Trayvon Walker, Josh Allen, Chason, formerly of LSU. You know, you have give me if I messed up some of these names. Aluakon, Devin Lloyd, not first round pick, but an early round pick they had last year. I like the secondary. It doesn't jump off. They're not, like I said, these guys are not household names, but they're good, talented players. They have a lot of talent. The question is, can Jacksonville play to the level of their talent and really take control of this division? I think when we'll talk about, like I said, we'll talk about this later on, possibly on Wednesday or Thursday when we talk about the Tennessee Titans. Tennessee Titans, a lot of veterans, a lot of experience. But you saw how injuries can really reshape a team, and it's a lot more question marks. Even though they have veteran players, those guys got older in the off season. We're going to talk a lot more about that. But I think Jacksonville is set up. It's currently constructed. If they're able to really start playing to the level of their potential, and like I said, it begins and ends with Trevor Lawrence at quarterback. I like some of the strides he made last year. I think this season in particular is going to be, this is where you make your stamp. A former number one pick. You were considered a generational talent at quarterback. It's when you look at the other quarterbacks in this division, and no slight to them, because we're going to talk about them later on this week as we get down to breaking those teams down. But it's, even as far as pure talent, throwing talent, and overall athletic ability, no other quarterback in this division is in his wheelhouse. I mean, let's keep it all the way funky, keep it all the way fresh. No other quarterback in this division is in his wheelhouse. I like Anthony Richardson's athletics, but we got to see some game tape on him. So then a lot more question marks at other key positions for other teams. Now Jacksonville is not perfect, but I think, with the success that they had coming down the stretch last year, playing much better, had a good showing in the playoffs, I think this team is primed to take control of the AFC South. Typically, I will wait till Friday to kind of give you my rundown, other teams in this division who I think is going to win it. But, I think right now, as currently constructed, and, I can make a case maybe for the Tennessee Titans later on this week. But if I had to put money on it, Jacksonville is my team to beat in this division. I think Jacksonville is ready to take that next leap. Now, I'm not going to put them in the same categories as what my top tier teams. If you caught that show, if you didn't, go back, check it out on the channel. It's up there. When I broke down my tier one teams, I'm not going to put Jacksonville in that category. Just not. As much as I like Trevor Lawrence, you're not proving like Joe Burrow. You're not proving like Josh Allen. You're not proving like a Patrick Mahomes. Sorry, not sorry. I do like the running back group that they have there. I like the mix of running backs they have there. If you're going to question some things, maybe a couple questions along the offensive line as far as what Harrison, the rookie that they drafted, he's going to be forced into some action possibly with Cam Robinson looking at possible suspension. Is he going to struggle? Is that going to bog down the offense early? What does Calvin really look like? I mean, he literally hasn't played in about 2 years. Literally hasn't played in like 2 years. I haven't really seen any early footage out of camp. I mean, I know, there's a lot of stuff coming out of camps now as camp is really starting to ramp up. Is you're hearing the stories is either super good or super bad. Guys getting carted off and with injuries and stuff like that. Or, it's you got to understand with the NFL and the offseason cycle, when you're getting information, you're getting reports about these teams, what they're doing in the offseason, how guys are looking, of course, it's going to be positive. They're not going to say Trevor Lawrence looks like trash. They're not going to say he's struggling. It's going to be, he's working through it with his receivers. You're going to get that kind of stuff. But like I said, Jacksonville is in prime position right now to take control of the division. And the way that this division is kind of set up, Jacksonville needs to kind of get on board, go ahead and start locking this division up real tight, because we'll talk about it later on this week. I like what I saw this offseason from the Texans. I like what I see in Indianapolis, and I'm not going to put them in the same category as Jacksonville. They're not going to be a playoff team. I mean, but they could be, playing upset later on in the season. I like some of the moves that those teams made, but I think Jacksonville, this is the time. If you're going to take over the division, this is the time to do it. You cannot come out slow out the block like you did last year and expect Tennessee to crumble and give it away. You got to come out, assert yourself. You want to be a powerhouse in this conference. You want to be a playoff fixture. This is the season to kind of do it. Trevor Lawrence is, I'm not going to say it's a make or break, but it's a make or break for him. And that's just my opinion. You're too talented of a quarterback to be on outside of the top 10 when we're talking about quarterbacks in this league. And for me, based on your production and how you played throughout your career thus far, you're outside of the top 10 for me. Have a good season this year. You could be in the running for a top 10 spot by the end of the season. I like what I'm looking at coming out of the camp early. I like how some of the rookies have looked. I like the depth that they was able to bring in through the draft. Like I said, won a lot of household names in the draft, but I like the pieces that they brought in, guys that are going to be able to contribute in some part of the rotation. Jacksonville is setting themselves up. You need to take control of the division. Jacksonville is my pick for AFC South, but like I said, this I'm not going to leave it at that. I can make a case with Tennessee. If you give me enough time, I can stretch a narrative to where the Colts could possibly win this division. But that's neither here nor there. Thank you for coming out. As always, remember to like, share, subscribe, leave comments. Tomorrow, I'm not sure what team I'll be doing. Be sure to check out the thumbnail. Same bat time, same bat channel. It's always appreciated. Now, those that yes, Gator Girl, I pick. I mean, come on. I mean, how else was I going to pick anybody else? Like I said, I can make a case, and then I'll be doing that probably Thursday when I'm gonna set Tennessee up for Thursday. I can make a case for Tennessee, but when I look at the draft that Jacksonville had, the maturation of the young players that they already had in-house, the addition of Calvin Ridley to that offense, I think the defense is going to play. Hopefully, defense plays a lot better. You have a lot of first round, high round talent on that defense. It's time for them to come together. They have the pieces to have a formidable pass rush. Got speed at the linebacker position. I like the secondary. It's hard not to pick Jacksonville. It's just hard. Now, do I think they, run away and smoke the division? I'm not going to go that far. I'm not going to say that, but I do think they win the division this year, and I think they win it, outright. Not, hoping that somebody, falls apart down the stretch, because Tennessee kind of broke down and gave the division away last year. But I don't think that's going to be the case. I think Jacksonville got a taste of what it's like in the playoffs. Trevor Lawrence had a rough start. I mean, rough as you can possibly have in a first playoff game in this league. I want to say, was it 3-4 interceptions in the first half? Had a rough start, but maintained his composure, got it together, and I think that's going to really catapult this team, build up that confidence that, hey, not only can we get into the playoffs, but we can be competitive in the playoffs. So let me kind of get up out of here. Like I said, as always, remember to like, share, subscribe. We'll be back tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel. It's always love, always appreciated. Leave, like, share, comment, dislike, whatever. This shows some level of engagement. Your brother appreciates it. We're gonna get out of here with the phrase that pays. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, but every time you learn. and we out.